Jerusalem. The Feast of Tabernacles is approaching. Thousands of pilgrims are already moving toward the city, and the brothers of Jesus find him still in Galilee, and they have a challenge. Leave here, go to Judea. Let your disciples see the things you are doing. If you are doing these things, show yourself to the world. It sounds like encouragement. It is not. John adds a line that cuts through it. For even his brothers did not believe in him. They are not urging him toward greatness. They are pressing him toward exposure, daring him to go public in a city where his enemies are already plotting against his life. And Jesus answers them with a single sentence, 6 words in Greek, words that most English readers miss entirely because of how they get translated. My Kairos has not yet come. Not my time, not the timing is not right. My Kairos, a word that carries a meaning so specific, so layered, that most people who have read the Bible their entire lives have never stopped to look at it. And when you do look at it, when you see what Kairos actually means in the Greek-speaking world, everything about the way you experience God's timing changes. This is a story of that word, and once you see it, you will never again say that God is late. Here is something most people who read the English Bible never realize. The ancient Greeks had 2 different words for time, 2 entirely different concepts, both translated into English with the single word, time. The first is chronos. You already recognize it. Chronological, chronicle, anachronism. Chronos is the time on your clock, the days on your calendar, the seconds that tick past in sequence, measurable, countable, predictable. Chronos does not care whether what is happening is significant or not. It just keeps moving forward relentlessly, 1 second after another. It is the time that waits for no one. It is the river of ordinary moments that makes up the ordinary hours of ordinary days. That is Chronos. And then there is Kairos. Kairos is something completely different. Kairos is not a duration. Kairos is a moment. Not just any moment, but the right moment, the appointed moment, the moment that has been prepared when everything converges, when the window opens, when the conditions are exactly right for something that could not happen at any other time. Where Chronos is quantitative, how much time, Kairos is qualitative. It carries the sense of fitness, opportunity, the exact moment when something must happen. And the New Testament is full of it. Kairos appears 86 times across the New Testament. 86 moments described not as duration, but as divine appointment. And almost every English reader has been reading the same word time without ever knowing which Greek reality was sitting underneath it. Here is where it gets extraordinary. Before the New Testament used Kairos, the ancient Greeks used it too. And the picture they painted it with is unforgettable. Scholars who trace the etymology of Kairos back through ancient Greek sources found it used in 2 primary images. The first is archery. In archery, Kairos was the word for the precise moment when an arrow could be shot with sufficient force to penetrate the target. Not too early, not too late. A specific window created by the position of the target, the tension of the bow, the angle of release when the arrow could go through. Miss that window and the arrow strikes the surface and falls. Hit the window and it penetrates completely. That is Kairos. Not how long the archer waited, but the exact moment when waiting became action. The second image is weaving. In weaving, Kairos was the moment when the shuttle could pass through the threads of the loom. The threads would separate just long enough for the shuttle to pass through. 1 precise moment, then it closed again. The weaver had to be ready, had to be watching, had to act in the Kairos or the moment was lost. Both images say the same thing. Kairos is not about the length of time. It is about the precision of the moment, the window that opens and must be met with action. Now take that picture and carry it into the room where Jesus is speaking to his brothers. In John chapter 7, verse 6, Jesus says, "My Kairos has not yet come, but your time is always ready." Your time, always ready. His brothers could go to Jerusalem anytime. For them, one moment was as good as another. Go now, go tomorrow, go next week. It did not matter because they were operating on Chronos, human time, ordinary sequence, the predictable flow of days. Nothing about their movement was governed by divine appointment. Any moment would do. But Jesus says, "My Kairos, my moment is not like that. My movements are not governed by human convenience or social pressure or the best opportunity according to my brother's opinion. My Kairos is set by the Father. It is a window, appointed, specific, not yet open. And when it does open, not a moment will be wasted. This is not the only time John shows us this. In John chapter 2, verse 4, at the wedding in Cana, when Mary urges Jesus to act, he says, "My hour has not yet come." In John chapter 7, verse 30, when his enemies try to seize him, no one laid a hand on him because his hour had not yet come. In John chapter 8, verse 20, again, his hour had not yet come. In John chapter 12, verse 23, and then, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. The language changes, has not yet come, has not yet come, has not yet come, and then it comes. Every step Jesus took, every city he entered, every confrontation he accepted or avoided, all of it was calibrated to a divine timeline he was living inside, invisible to everyone around him, but as real as gravity. He was not moving through Chronos, the ordinary flow of human hours. He was living inside a Kairos, a series of appointed moments set by the Father. And when the moment came, he did not hesitate. Now, go to the very opening of his ministry. Mark chapter 1, verses 14 through 15. Jesus comes into Galilee and he preaches. And his first words, the first sentence out of his mouth in his public ministry, are these: "The Kairos is fulfilled. The kingdom of God is at hand. Repent and believe the gospel." The Kairos is fulfilled. Not time has passed. Not the clock has run out. Not enough time has gone by. The Kairos, the appointed moment, has been filled, has arrived, has been brought to completion. Jesus opens his ministry by declaring that the window he has been moving toward has finally opened. Everything that the law and the prophets pointed to, everything that Daniel's numbers counted toward, every covenant, every sacrifice, every priest who ever stood at an altar, all of it was Chronos, the duration of waiting pointing toward this Kairos, this exact moment. And now, the moment is here. The arrow has reached the target. The shuttle has passed through. The Kairos is fulfilled. Here is what this means. Jesus did not arrive early. He did not arrive late. He arrived at the Kairos, the appointed moment, and everything that felt like delay, the 400 years of prophetic silence between Malachi and Matthew, the centuries of waiting, the generations who prayed for the Messiah and died without seeing him, was not God being slow. It was God filling the Chronos toward the Kairos. Every year of waiting was part of the preparation. Not empty time, full time. Time being filled with purpose on a divine timeline, invisible to the people living inside it. But here is the other side of this word, and it is a side that carries a warning, because Kairos is not only an opportunity given, it is also an opportunity that can be missed. In Luke chapter 19, Jesus is riding into Jerusalem on a donkey. The crowds are waving branches and shouting, and he reaches the crest of the hill overlooking the city, and he stops and he weeps. Not quiet tears. The Greek word is kleio, loud, uncontrollable weeping, and he says this: "Would that you, even you, had known on this day the things that make for peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes." And then, verse 44, "Because you did not know the time of your visitation." The time of your visitation, in Greek, ton kairon tes episkopes su, the kairos of your visitation, the appointed moment when God himself came to them in the flesh, on a donkey, through their city gates, and they missed it. Not because the evidence was not there, not because the prophets had not spoken, because they were looking for a different kind of king, a king who would come on a war horse, not a donkey, a king whose kingdom looked like what they expected, and they could not see the Kairos standing right in front of them. Jesus wept over that. He wept over a city that had been given the most extraordinary Kairos in human history and had looked away. The Kairos is not guaranteed to be received. It must be recognized. It must be met with eyes open and a heart that has been prepared to see what God is actually doing rather than what we expected him to do. Right here, stop. Has anyone ever shown you this distinction before? Two Greek words for time, and the one Jesus used for his own movements, is not clock time, but appointed moment. Drop a comment. And if this kind of word study, going past the English into what the text actually says, is what you have been hungry for, subscribe right now. This is what we do every single week. Let us finish this, because the biggest reveal is still coming. Paul gives us the deepest picture of this in Ephesians chapter 1 verse 10. He writes about God's plan for the fullness of times. In Greek, pleromaton kairon, the fullness of the kairos moments. Not when enough time had passed, but when all the appointed moments had been filled, when the kairoi had reached their completion. Pleroma, fullness, completeness, pregnancy brought to term. The word pleroma was used to describe a vessel filled to the point where nothing more could be added. And Paul applies it to kairos, the fullness of the appointed moments. As if history were a pregnancy, each kairos a stage of development, moving toward the moment of birth, when nothing more needed to happen first, when everything was ready, and God sent his Son. Not because the clock hit a number, because the kairos of the cross had reached its pleroma, its fullness, its completion. Think about what that means for the way you read history. The 400 years of silence between the Old Testament and the New Testament, when no prophet spoke, was not God being absent. It was the pleroma filling, the pax romana, the period of Roman peace that allowed the gospel to travel along Roman roads into every corner of the empire. Koine Greek, the common language that the New Testament could be written in a tongue every educated person in the Mediterranean world could read. All of it part of the filling, part of the kairos being made ready. God was not watching history happen and deciding to intervene. He was orchestrating the chronos, the long, ordinary stretch of days and years toward the kairos he had appointed from the beginning. And the cross, when it came, was not a crisis response. It was not God improvising. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 20 says Christ was foreknown before the foundation of the world. Before a single day of Chronos had ticked past, the kairos of the cross was already set, already planned, already appointed. The world was made with a cross already written into its future. That is, kairos. That is what God's timing actually looks like. Now, here is where this becomes intensely personal. Because the same word, kairos, that describes the appointed moment of Christ's coming, is used throughout the New Testament for the timing of God's work in individual lives. Romans chapter 5 verse 6. For while we were still weak, at the right time, at the kairos, Christ died for the ungodly. Not when we were strong enough, not when we had done enough to merit it. At the kairos, the appointed moment, when the Father determined the window was open. Galatians chapter 6 verse 9. And let us not grow weary of good, for in due season, in kairo, we will reap if we do not give up. In kairo, in the kairos, the harvest does not come on your schedule, it comes in the appointed moment. And the warning Paul gives is do not stop before the kairos arrives, because the moment is coming, but it has a specific time. And if you give up in the chronos, in the long, ordinary stretch before the window opens, you will miss the harvest that was always coming. James chapter 5 verse 7. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it, until it receives the early and the late rains. The farmer does not stand over the seed demanding it grow. He prepares the ground. He plants. He waits. Not because nothing is happening, because everything that needs to happen before the harvest is happening, underground, invisible, according to a timeline the farmer did not set. That is the posture of someone who understands kairos. Here is the question this word puts to every person watching this. What are you waiting on right now? What is the thing you have prayed about, prepared for, worked toward, and it has not yet come? And maybe you have started to wonder whether it is coming at all. Maybe the silence has started to feel like absence. Maybe the length of the chronos, the long, ordinary stretch of waiting days, has made you wonder if God has forgotten the thing he promised you. Hear this. Jesus had a kairos. His brothers tried to rush it. His enemies tried to prevent it. Social pressure tried to move it. Human urgency tried to override it. And not one of those forces could shift it by a single moment. His hour had not yet come. 5 separate times, John tells us, and nobody could touch it. And when it came, when the kairos arrived, it could not be stopped either. Nothing could hold it back. Not the Sanhedrin, not Pilate, not the crowd, not the grave. The kairos opened and the resurrection happened on the 3rd day, not the 2nd, not the 4th, the 3rd. Because kairos is precise. If God was that precise with the window of the incarnation, If he was that precise with the moment of the resurrection, he is that precise with the appointed moments in your life. You are not waiting in an empty Chronos. You are living in a Chronos that is moving toward a Kairos that has been set from before the foundation of the world. Maybe you have been waiting for a breakthrough that has not come. Maybe you have been faithful in the small things, in the ordinary Chronos of daily obedience, and you cannot see anything changing. Maybe you feel like Jesus' brothers, pressing, urging, why not now? Why not here? Why not this moment? Hear what Jesus modeled in response to that pressure. He did not argue with them. He did not panic. He simply knew where he was in the Father's timeline, and he held his position in the Chronos without forcing the Kairos, because he trusted the one who said it. That is the posture this word is calling you to. Not passivity, not giving up, not assuming nothing will ever change. The farmer in James chapter 5 is not passive. He prepares the ground, he plants the seed, he tends the soil, but he does not stand over the seed demanding it appear before its time. He works and he waits, because the Kairos of the harvest is in the hands of the one who sends the rain, not in the hands of the farmer, and not in your hands either. Your Kairos is in the same hands that set the appointed moment for the resurrection. Those hands have never been late. Jesus' brothers did not understand. They pressed him. They challenged him. They told him to go now, to seize the moment, to make the most of the opportunity. And he looked at them and said this, "My Kairos has not yet come." He was not afraid. He was not delayed. He was not confused about what he was doing. He was simply not yet at the window, and he knew it, because he was not moving through time the way his brothers were. He was not measuring days, or managing opportunities, or calculating the best moments by human logic. He was living inside a divine Kairos that the Father had set, and he was content to wait in the Chronos until the moment opened. 30 years of ordinary life in Nazareth before a single miracle. Think about what that looked like. 30 years of wood shavings and sawdust. 30 years of measuring planks and hammering joints. 30 years of sunrises over the same Galilean hills. Ordinary days, ordinary work, ordinary Chronos. The Son of God, with the power to raise the dead, waking up every morning and going to a carpenter's workshop. No miracles, no ministry, no public moment, just Chronos. Just the long, ordinary stretch before the Kairos, and he did not resist it. He did not force the window open before it was time. He waited inside the Chronos perfectly until the Father said, "Now." 30 years of Chronos before the Kairos of Galilee, and then 3.5 years of ministry. Each step, each city, each miracle, each confrontation calibrated until the final Kairos. Jerusalem, the Passover, the cross, the tomb, the third day. Every Kairos fulfilled exactly. The God who moves in Kairos is the same God who holds your life. The same God who said to Daniel, "Here is the number 483 years," and kept it to the generation. The same God who sent Gabriel to Mary at the exact moment of the pleroma. The same God who raised Jesus on the third day and not the second. That God is not late. That God is not early. That God is never wasting your waiting. He is filling the Chronos toward a Kairos that has your name written into it, and it will come. Not when you force it. Not when your brothers pressure it. Not when the crowd demands it. In the appointed moment, in the Kairos, which is already set and is coming,